Test cricket is back. The real cricket is back. We've been fed a diet and we continue to be fed a diet of T20 cricket. So much so that I didn't watch the IPL final for a few reasons. I think those of you who follow me, especially on Facebook, you will know my thoughts on the whole T20 World Cup and India's eventual victory. But with that being said, Test cricket is back. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Top of Off Cricket Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Henry. And as usual, we are talking everything West Indies cricket. So tomorrow, West Indies will show up at Lord's with a brand new opening batsman. That match also marks the beginning of what we would hope is an illustrious career for Mikyle Louis, that match also brings to an end, or this match, I should say, brings to an end the long and illustrious career of England paceman Jimmy Anderson. 188 test matches is no mean feat. You understand me? That's a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice. And to see a man who will soon be 42 years old, who I think could still walk into many international teams in the test playing arena, it is absolutely phenomenal to see what he has done. 700 test wickets, 188 test matches. That is absolutely phenomenal. Part of a lot of big victories for England against Australia and India and the West Indies, New Zealand. You know, he's been a true champion of swing bowling over the last 22 years. He's one of the few men that in these last 2 decades who I've seen could make the ball do exactly what he wants it to do. So I wanted to take this time to take my hat off to Jimmy Anderson, give him his flowers. Well done. All right. With that being said, the hope is that West Indies do not allow him and England to celebrate in the way that they would like. I don't think the boys need to make sure Jimmy Anderson goes home on a losing note. 188 matches is good enough. A good enough thing to celebrate, not a victory come Sunday. All right? Or if the match goes that long, because based on how Test cricket is going in these last few years with the influence of T20 cricket, a lot of matches are ending quite quickly. But, so here's a few things that I wanted to talk about. New opening partnership. Since the retirement of Desmond Haynes and Gordon Greenidge way back in the early 90s, West Indies haven't had a stable opening partnership. Matter of fact, I will go as far as to say we haven't replaced those two men. We haven't replaced them. And that's a damn shame. In the same manner, we haven't replaced Vivian Richards. In the same manner, we haven't replaced Jeff Dujon. In the same manner, we haven't replaced Malcolm Marshall, Courtney Ambrose, Courtney Walsh, and so many of the stalwarts of the 80s, the 70s, 80s, and very early 90s. We haven't replaced Richie Richardson. How can I forget Richie Richardson? Used to love watching him bat. But here's a chance for the likes of Mikyle Louis, Shamar Joseph, Alzari Joseph, Gudakesh Moti, Jaden Seals to make a name for themselves on English soil, because it has been a long time since we would have won a series in England, a very, very long time. And that needs to change. And this is about the best time. This is about the best opportunity for that to change. Here's the reason why. This is an English team that's in transition. They're missing some big names, some very good batsmen. There will be no Ollie Pope. There will be no Johnny Bairstow. There will be no, what's his name again? Oh my goodness. No Mark Wood. So what is an actual, obviously no Jofra Archer, but what is an actual core of this team will be missing, right? They have picked some young fast bowlers, a young spinner who went to India in very helpful conditions and did what he should have done, which was take wickets. He's quite young, but English conditions proves another challenge. And there's a reason why he's not at his county. And that young man I'm talking about is Shoaib Bashir. There's a reason why he's not the #1 spinner at his county, because he's young and he's still learning his trade. But England have decided, look, we're going to invest in him. We're going to see what his ceiling is. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're not looking at West Indies as a big enough threat. Matter of fact, based on what I'm hearing from the pundits around the cricketing scenes around England, they're looking at England winning all 6 test matches this summer. They're looking at West Indies as food. They're looking at Sri Lanka as food. I don't know how Sri Lanka feel about that, but I'm sure our boys will not take kindly to that. And that should be fuel enough for us to go out there and put in a performance over these next 3 test matches. Now, with that being said, West Indies have named their 11. And I'll read that 11 out for you. Craig Brathwaite, Mikyle Louis, that's going to be our opening pair. Kirk McKenzie comes at 3. Alec Athanaze at 4. Kavem Hodge at 5. Jason Holt at 6, which I think is a brilliant move. Josh Da Silva, the keeper, at 7. Moti at 8. Alzari at 9. Seals at 10. Joseph at 11, but I actually think Joseph might be batting higher than Alzari and Jaden Seals, given his performance down in Australia. I think he's a better bat. Anyways, that's a conversation for a different day. Now, I don't have too many problems with that 11 that was started. I mean, I personally, had I been the coach, I would have gone for Kevin Sinclair as a batsman, as a pure batsman. I'm not looking at Kevin Sinclair, the all-rounder. While we know of his all-round capabilities, Kevin Sinclair is just not bowling that well enough right now. But he is that good of a batsman. And like I always say, Kevin Sinclair is one of the best red ball batsmen we have currently in the Caribbean. I personally would have had him in that squad. And you might want to ask, ahead of who? I would have been taking a chance. He would have been playing in the place of Kavem Hodge. That's just how I feel about it. That's a conversation for another day. Nothing against Kavem Hodge, all right? I just feel that Kevin Sinclair is a better batsman. That's plain and simple. So what we have here on paper is a very, very young batting lineup. Louis, McKenzie, Athanaze, Kavem Hodge. If you were to total up the amount of test matches they have between them, it will total less than 15. That's a cause for concern for the West Indies, especially in English conditions. That's a cause of concern. But they all had a good net. And when I say net, I mean they played against that first class counties 11, and they all looked good, with the acceptance of Craig Brathwaite. Louis looked good. Kirk McKenzie looked good. Athanaze looked good. Half centuries in both innings. Josh Da Silva got a half century in the second innings. Alzari got some overs under his belt. Jason Holt got some overs under his belt. Seals got some overs under his belt. The only 2 people that I'm worried about, preparation-wise, is Shamar and Gudakesh Moti, because their flights were delayed by the hurricane. And especially in the case of Shamar Joseph, he hasn't played much cricket since that Gabba Test match. That's a cause for concern. Yes, I did call for him to be included in the T20 World Cup squad. After that test match, he went home injured, rehabbed, went to the IPL, played one match, was over there for the better part of 2 months, came back, played, I think was that 3 matches against South Africa, 3 T20 matches against South Africa, didn't play after then. So I'm eager to see how Shamar Joseph will show up in this match. I'm very, very eager to see. I know he's got age on his side. He's young. He's got good pace and all that kind of stuff. But I'm really, really curious to see, with the lack of cricket that he's had, especially red ball cricket that he's had over the last 7 months, how he's going to fare in English conditions. When I look at the West Indies batting lineup, this is what, if I was a coach, this is what I would be saying to them. Our openers need to create the platform. Basic. You need to keep it as basic as possible, because in England, it calls for you to do the basics, and it calls for you to do them well. See the shine off the ball. The goal should be within the first session, 50-run partnership. We can't operate like the Englands and Australia's. You know, we just don't have that capability. So we have to play to our strengths. See the shine off the ball. You have nowhere to go for 5 days. Bat. And bat long. The objective between the two of them should be, between Louis and Braffett, should be a 100-run partnership. And looking and hoping that Kirk McKenzie and Alec Athanaze finally get their stuff together, because while McKenzie was the leading scorer in Australia, every time he batted, he gave his wicket away. He got a good start, gave his wicket away. If you're going to be a number 3 batsman in international cricket, especially in test cricket, your powers of concentration has to be better. And I know he's still learning the game, and that is my problem with Kirk McKenzie. He was thrown in at the deep end. This is a young man that didn't have any real experience in first-class cricket, and we sent him to Australia. We sent him to South Africa. We sent him to Australia. Matter of fact, he started against India. That is tough. That's a tough initiation into international cricket. But let's see how he goes. Like I said, he looked good in that tour match. Of course, playing against the full England squad is a totally different proposition. So let's see how he holds up. The pressures are different. Let's see how he holds up. Athanaze, for all his talent, looked at sea while he was in Australia. Time to show up. No better time to show up. I thought it was a brilliant move to have Jason Holland, from what it looks like, he'll be batting at 6. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant move, because I think Jason Holder is a way better batsman than what his numbers tell us. I'm a firm believer that Jason Holder should have had at least 10 test centuries by now. At least 10 test centuries by now. That's how talented a batsman he is. Tevin Imlach is back in form. I hope Joshua Da Silva is paying attention, because now he has competition. These 3 test matches are going to come quickly. We don't have room for mistakes. We don't have room for slow starts. So Joshua Da Silva needs to be on his P's and Q's. And I hope if things go south for him, Tevin Imlach is ready. Matter of fact, he should be worried that Tevin Imlach is ready, because that's the reason why Tevin Imlach is there. Imlach came back to the first-class season in the West Indies and looked a totally different batsman than what we've seen over the last few years. And that was the impressive thing about it. When you come back from an international tour, you are supposed to dominate. It is about time Alzarri Joseph moves from a player that has potential and is referred to as talented, to someone who is producing on a regular basis. He has 3 test matches. This is the opportune time for him to move from potential to production. Because Kemar Roach is on the way out. He needs to be the lead of the pack. He's been in test cricket for the last seven years. It is time. I expect to see good things from Jaden Seals. Like I said, I'm a little bit worried about Shamar's preparation, but I'm sure Shamar is going to figure it out. Anyways, like I said, the match starts tomorrow morning, 0600 Eastern United States time, and then Eastern Caribbean, Guyana, 5 o'clock in Jamaica. Once again, I'm going to read out the squad for the team that walks out tomorrow at Lord's. And we get to hear that beautiful anthem. Craig Braffett, Mikyle Louis, Kirk McKenzie, Alec Athanaze, Kavem Hodge, Jason Holder, Joshua Da Silva, Gudakesh Moti, Alzari Joseph, Shamar Joseph. On paper, I think we have a better bowling lineup than the English does. Our batsmen is what I'm worried about. That is what I'm worried about. But no better time than prove the doubters wrong, right? Once again, I'm Kevin Henry for the Top of Off Cricket Podcast. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll see you next time.